And welcome to the program. It's another edition of Behind the Law right here on Bud 94.1. Thank you for spending some of your evenings with us here on our favorite radio station. Also, do not forget to follow us at Behind the Law Radio. You can watch and interact with us there every day about 4 o'clock p.m. And do not forget to watch the TV show. This Sunday and every Sunday, it's Behind the Law on TV, 10 a.m., TV 27. To my left, my good friend and Orlando radio legend, Mick Dillon. Mick, how are you, sir?
And party survivor.
I know, right? Thanks for showing up the other night.
We had a good one.
Yeah, it was good. You came to one of our little holiday parties this weekend. It was good to see you. I know you had like 4 other parties to go to. I mean, when you're a man about town like Mick Dillon, there's a lot of parties you got to hit, no doubt.
Well, a couple, yeah.
Yeah.
But they weren't as good as that one, right. I'm going to tell you.
You have to say that.
Yeah.
We are missing Allie Mack today. Allie Mack, we wish you well. I heard you're sick. Allie Mack's not going to be joining us today. I don't know. What are we going to do without her, Mick? I don't know. I don't know how to do the show without Allie Mack.
She's an integral part of the team.
No doubt about it.
When she's gone, we miss her.
Behind the scenes, answering your questions, making sure we're live on social media, eating a cookie at the moment is the beautiful Brianna. What's up, Brianna? How are you? You also made the party this weekend. Thank you very much for coming. It's good to see you and Jeremy. What kind of cookie is that? I mean, it looks like a pretty darn good cookie, if you want to ask me. Gingerbread cookies, huh? Did you steal that from my desk? Because someone, I'm sure, dropped off gingerbread cookies. Look, she stole those, Mick. Those are on my desk 5 minutes ago.
But they're gone now.
She stole my gingerbread cookie. Oh, my gosh. That was from Vivian Lehman, actually. Vivian, I'm going to need another order of cookies, if you don't mind. Thank you, by the way, for the gift. Brianna said they're
she
delicious.
does do a good cookie.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, so how you doing, Mick? Everything all right?
I'm good.
Another week here. Do you feel holiday-ish yet or not? I can't figure it out.
I'm wearing the holidays.
I know that you're wearing it, but are you feeling holiday-like yet?
Well, I've got the Christmas spirit pretty much all year round.
Yeah. Do you really?
Oh, sure.
Brianna, are you feeling holiday-ish yet? I mean, this week is, I think, when you're supposed to really start feeling like it's the holidays, right? I'm just not quite there yet. I think I need a couple of days off of work or something to feel like it's holidays. You know what I mean?
Some people don't really think they're ready for the holidays until they've shopped.
You know where they are ready for the holidays is in the South.
Ooh.
It's Snowstorm City
Carolina.
in Tennessee, Carolinas, a lot
Virginia.
of snow, a lot of people out of school up in my old neck of the woods, my old stomping grounds in Tennessee, so I hope you guys are enjoying it. I mean, it was cold here for us, 68 or something, 65?
It was brutal.
It was a real struggle. You know, say a prayer for us down here in Florida because it did not even hit 70 today.
But really, 55 right now. Actually, right now, I think it's 55 and feels like 25.
I know.
To me.
I know.
I got 3 layers.
It's a very special week this week. It's Human Rights Week, and I think Human Rights Day actually today. So we're going to have a lot of guests on talking about human rights, civil rights, all of these important topics throughout the week. So you're going to want to stick around. Today, a little later in the program, we're going to bring our good friend Gwendolyn Wiggins with the City of Orlando and the Human Relations Office. She'll be joining us to talk about what really is human rights and where we at as a society and as a city when it comes to human rights. I mean, I feel like we're doing a pretty good job down here in Orlando, but I don't know. And that's why we wanted to bring Miss Wiggins in, too. We'll ask her about that. All right, so I didn't watch any ESPN today for obvious reasons. You know I'm a Patriots fan. Did you see what happened with the Dolphins and Patriots yesterday?
The greatest thing I've ever seen.
Don't ever say that again.
I do.
Get out of my office.
I'm sorry. I'm not a Patriots fan.
No,
that was Dolphins
terrible.
Pulled one out.
That was awful. I'm a Tennessee guy, too. Tennessee basketball was playing against number 1 Gonzaga at the same time. So I actually turned the Patriots game off to switch back to the Tennessee game.
And
before the last play, because the game was over, right? I mean,
it really
was
was.
over.
I mean, that was a Hail Mary in the worst way.
Unbelievable. But so you're welcome again to you Jayhawks people, like Mick Dillon is. Tennessee beat Gonzaga, meaning the Jayhawks are going to be number 1 in the nation again, right?
Number 1.
But
as they should be.
What a good feeling
undefeated.
It was. You must admit.
Beat Tennessee.
Yeah, I know. You must admit. I mean, we put up a pretty good fight against you guys. I mean, Tennessee's for real, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So you're welcome on that. A lot of layaways getting paid for still. What did you read about Kid Rock now, Mick Dillon?
Kid Rock has taken Tyler Perry's, he's following along.
Yeah.
And he paid for the entire layaway at a Walmart in Nashville.
Wow. How much was his?
$81,000.
81 grand. Now, when you're rich, when you're as rich as him, do you think when you go in, you first say, but can you tell me like how much is out first of all? You know what I mean?
Or do you even care?
Yeah, it's one of those things like you're going, you see some friends on the other side of the restaurant, and you're like, I'm gonna pick up their tab, but then you bring the waitress over first. You're like, how much have they rung up so far? You know what I mean? You want to make sure it's not like a huge tab.
Yeah, like that $1,000 tab.
Exactly.
But yeah, at Tyler Perry, I guess
his was like 400 something.
Yeah,
thousand.
it was a lot. And he did it in Georgia at a Walmart.
Right.
So maybe we can make this a trend. What if they drop by my Walmart?
I know. Please let me know what Walmart you're going to be paying the tabs for,
Really?
because we'll go do some layaway.
Yeah.
My dad used to do layaway a lot. He called it the Walmart too. He said, I got my... No, it was actually the Kmark. He would...
Kmark.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of money at all, you know, so the only way to buy stuff was really to do it on layaway. But, I'm going to go pick up or make a payment towards my layaway at the Kmark. Okay.
Did you ever have a Piggly Wiggly
Oh, of
grocery
course.
store?
You better believe we did, yeah.
I haven't seen one of those.
Do they
in a
have
while.
those here?
I don't think so.
I've
used to.
They did have them here?
Yeah.
North Florida.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I don't remember
Piggly Wiggly.
here. We had them in Tennessee though, for sure. I mean, it wasn't like one of the bigger ones, but we definitely had them.
Yeah. Can't forget a name like that.
Big day in social media. I think everyone was getting their year in review things. Did you see yours pop up yet?
Yeah. God.
Did you look at it? I mean, I just looked at mine a few moments ago. Well, I mean,
It seems like I'm getting stuff from them all the time.
I know.
It's like memories of this and memories.
Yeah.
It's like,
come on, let's make new memories.
I got better things to do.
So, what is the proper protocol with that, Brianna? When you see the Facebook thing pops up, your year in review, do you share it or do you not share it? What do you think? So Brianna does not. Mick Dolan, what do you think?
Not well. I'll look at it. Maybe
You will
and
look
see
at
if
it.
it's okay, but it's just it's a Facebook thing. You know, they don't care.
I'm really not that into it either. And some of the pictures that pop up really had absolutely nothing to do with me at all. I mean, they didn't do a great
Well,
job.
it's the ones that are compromising that you got to worry about. You know what I'm saying? No, well, that's not supposed to be in there.
Oh no, we put those on Snapchat, Mick.
Oh.
That's what it is. Yeah,
Well, that's what you do.
I'm just kidding. I don't even know how to log in. Remember? I got in big trouble for that the other day, Brianna. So, anyway.
Again.
Yeah, I know, again. Hey, you're listening to Behind the Law on Bud 94.1. The phone number here in the studio, 321-282-1055. It's just Justin, Mick, and Brianna. Allie Mack is sick. We're wishing you all the best. Thank you to both of you for coming to the party this weekend at Ali's house. It was a good party, right?
You know, I just had to drink and eat for free. I had to.
So Mick Dolan, Orlando radio legend, of course, Mick Dolan, rolls in. I'm like, first of all, thanks for coming. Great to see you. He's like, yeah, I just came from one. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not surprised. And he said, and after I leave here, I'm going to another one. I was like, damn, Mick. I mean, how many parties you got,
It's
pal?
the most wonderful time of the year. Come on.
Everyone's inviting Mick Dolan to their parties, it seems, Brianna. I mean, Brianna,
I do have room on my schedule for more.
How many holiday parties do you think you'll go to this holiday season, Brianna, if you had to guess? 12 parties?
You already knew.
What the?
Wait,
Mick?
Is that
I
a,
added it up on
is
yesterday.
is that an egg?
Wow. She's eating more of my cookies, man.
I'm trying to lick the powder off.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's crazy. You save me a cookie. Vivian, I need more cookies. She's eating all of mine. Are there any left?
What is this?
For crying out loud? I don't know what it is.
That's Dallas's wife?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dallas's wife made me cookies.
She's
And
a
I'm not
saint.
even getting to try them.
She's a saint. They'll be gone.
There seems
Better
like it. So, well, happy holidays to you and yours. We're very much looking forward to spending the next 2 or 3 weeks here with you talking about Christmas and all the holiday season. Mick Dolan's probably going to wear some funny stuff over the next couple weeks, I would imagine. Allie Mack will be in here again with her. Oh, you missed her on Friday. She was wearing a red sweater that actually lit up. I mean, it was actually, had the lights on that actually lit up.
I knew that
was
Allie
scary.
I knew she got lit, but not that way.
That's why she's not here today.
You know, I'm looking for, though, I've heard where you can put lights in your beard now.
Oh, is that
Got a big
right?
enough beard.
I didn't know about that one.
Is that it?
I did not know about that.
Yeah, you can put that's kind of going too far.
All right, it's Behind the Law, 321-282-1055. Let's bring in our very special guest. She's from the city of Orlando, in the Orlando Human Relations Office. Is that right?
That's right.
Her name is Gwendolyn Wiggins. Gwendolyn, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great.
All right, so you work for the City of Orlando. Tell me exactly what that means when you work in the Human Relations Office. What is that?
Well, the Human Relations Office is a FEPA and a FAP, which is a Fair Employment Practice Agency, and a Fair Housing Assistance Program. The FEPA is through our contract with EEOC, the federal government, and through our HUD contract with HUD on a federal level, which means we're like agents of the EEOC and HUD, meaning with this agreement, we have the authority and the rights to fully enforce the Civil Rights Act, just as they would on their behalf. And we have our own local anti-discrimination laws, which the city has always been progressive with this anti-discrimination laws. This law has been in effect since 1973. And this law is substantially equivalent to the federal housing laws and the federal EEOC laws. That's what enables us to be a FEPA and a FAP, because your law has to be substantially equivalent. So essentially, we're enforcing civil rights.
I hear all the time about, oh, you know what? It's Florida. That's a right-to-work state. I can fire anyone for anything.
I'm glad you said that.
How does that sort of play into the fact that, no, you can't discriminate?
Because what needs to be added to that statement is it's a right-to-work state. You can fire anyone for anything except something discriminatory.
What sort of types of discrimination are there out there? I mean, I know there's plenty.
There's if the reasons are based upon someone's sex, race, color, national origin, disability, religion, and locally we have some extra protections.
Oh, yeah.
The extra protections that the City of Orlando has is sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. And there's a falsity out there that it can't, the sexual orientation and gender expression cannot be a charge taken under federal, because we do. We take it under sex, stereotyping, failure to conform to what someone else believes someone of a certain gender should wear or act. So we take it under sex when we do it under the federal law. But under the city's law, it's explicitly a protected category.
Got it. Gwendolyn Wiggins with the City of Orlando here helping us celebrate Human Rights Day. Take me through a normal day for you. What do you do?
Every day is different, and it's it can be challenging because you're seeing people pretty much at their worst when they come in. Because at their worst, I say that because they're upset, because either there's a real or perceived discrimination that has occurred, to them, so they're upset when they come in. So we're there to listen and to try to, calm them down and let them know that, reassure them that we're here to help them and try to remedy and get them some redress if, in fact, discrimination did occur.
So you're the first line
Correct.
Of defense.
Correct.
They come in and they probably haven't talked to anybody else in the government.
Correct.
So
They haven't
you're the
spoken
first
to
one.
exactly. Sometimes they've spoken to an employment law attorney already, but most protected bases, you have to go through a FEPA or EEOC to file a charge prior to bringing that case to federal court. So even if they have spoken to an attorney, that attorney's
They still
got
got to go through.
No.
Correct.
And how far have we really come in this human rights movement, and how far do we have to go? And is the City of Orlando ahead or behind the curve when it comes to human rights? Let's answer that question right on the other side of this break. It's Behind the Law, Bud 94.1.
All righty then. So we're off to a good start.
Yes.
Yeah, and you have to tell, like, whatever I'm missing or whatever, tell me. Well,
Oh no,
today's all about you.
you're doing great. You're doing great. Yeah.
All right, you guys ready?
You have 2 cookies.
You left me 2 cookies?
You said 2 cookies.
So you're ready with cookies.
The powdery dumpling.
All right. Welcome back to the program. It is Behind the Law, Bud 94.1. If you have any questions whatsoever, the phone number here, 321-282-1055. It's a season of giving. It's a season of giving holiday cookies to people. I was nice enough to get cookies earlier today. Vivian Lehman, thank you so much. I've just been told, Vivian, that I've had none of the cookies, yet there's only 2 left.
Huh?
I only ate 2.
You only ate 2? How are there only 2 left, Vivian?
Well, because there was only 4.
Oh, Vivian, can you please call into the program? Let us know how many cookies
We
you
do
put in this
need
box.
to get to the
because,
bottom of this, I think.
Because there's a cookie caper running around here if
I
you
know.
only ate 2 and there's only 2 left. Because I know there were more than that, Brianna.
You can't be copping cookies.
So, whoa.
No
You
copper
only ate
cookies.
2, for real.
I only ate 2 gingerbread cookies.
And then, but you ate one of the white ones, too.
Okay.
No, I had one little.
Oh,
okay. Now
only
she's
2
already at 3.
gingerbread.
We're not even negotiating, and Brianna's already at 3 cookies you've stolen. So you don't count those?
2 gingerbreads.
But your hands are already over it, so you've constructively eaten that cookie as well. Because I'm not eating it now. You know what I mean?
She flavored it up.
Oh, disgusting. That's unbelievable. So anyway, I'm looking for new cookies if anyone wants to share. You know where to find me. Right here on Winterly Place. What?
Oh, hey, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Now Mick Dolan wants some cookies, too. Cookies are gone, but the good thing is we have an excellent guest today talking about human rights. It's actually Human Rights Day. Is that right?
That's correct.
Gwendolyn Wiggins from the city of Orlando is here joining us. Where do you think we're at as a city, okay, when it comes to human rights? Are we ahead of the curve, behind, about average? What do you think?
I think with the city of Orlando is ahead of the curve. As I said earlier, it enacted its law back in 1973. It actually went before the commission in 72 and took effect in 73. And if you were to look back, historically at surrounding cities or counties, or even you can look at other states, they weren't that progressive in 72. So I get a lot of surprise when I tell people that's how old our anti-discrimination law is. And it's continued to be progressive over the years. They've consistently had the city updated and added new statuses throughout the years, including the sexual orientation and gender expression, whereas that's not even in the state's civil rights protections.
So they've gone above.
Above, correct. And that's the real initiative of the mayor is diversity and multicultural affairs. As a matter of fact, there's just been a new office created this new fiscal year called the Multicultural Affairs Office, which is there to engage the community, to give them information about what services, including the services at our office and other city offices, that's there to help their communities.
How's Mayor Dyer? I mean, it seems like most people in the community seem to really like him. Whether it's Republican, Democrat, it seems almost like at the mayor level.
He's our buddy.
It almost seems like the politics aren't quite as aggressive one way or another. You know what I mean? I realize he's a Democrat, but I don't hear like a Republican saying, "Oh, that Democrat in office down in Orlando."
I think they've probably given up.
Maybe that's what it is too. I don't know, but. And it seems like, generally speaking, most people seem to like and appreciate the job that Mayor Dyer is doing down there. I mean, I guess you're probably going to say the same thing, but I mean, realistically, how is he doing when it comes to human rights?
He's doing great. As I said, that's an initiative. And if you look back at the track record over the 16 years that he's been here, you see steady growth and amendments to that ordinance. This is an important initiative to him.
So
He's been there 16 years.
Yes, he's the longest serving mayor.
Wow, unbelievable.
So I think that speaks for itself.
Oh, yeah.
So
Keeps getting reelected, and he doesn't have a term limit. Right?
No,
So
we don't have a term limit at the city, whereas the county does.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm a business owner. We own a few different businesses, and we have employees. And unfortunately, we've had employees over the years that we've had to actually fire. It's just natural when it comes to running a business. But when you're a city, I mean, you obviously have different organizations within the city government, right? And you have bosses amongst those organizations. I mean, when someone does come to the city leaders and say, I have to fire one of these employees, is there a real process that you have to go through?
Well, they don't go to our office because sometimes people do get confused. We'll actually have people come to our office, think that we're human resources and that we deal with the city employees. The city has what they call labor relations, and people get labor relations and human relations mixed up. Labor relations is the one that would handle what you just described. Our office is, although we're city employees, our office itself is actually an agency. Which is what gives us that certification with the federal government.
But you're paid by the city.
Yeah, the city employees are paid, but we're paid by the city.
Okay.
But a lot of the rules and things that we have to follow, the investigations and those type things. We're investigating on behalf of the federal government.
So when your phone's ringing or someone's coming to your office to see you, why are they coming to you?
They're coming because they either have a real or perceived discrimination that has occurred to them.
Okay.
Sometimes what happens is it's personal issues and it's not discriminatory. So we, have to gently relay that to the person. Okay, we're not saying that nothing bad happened to you and that it wasn't terrible what was said or done to you, but unfortunately, the reason that it was done to you was not due to your membership in one of the protected classes, so therefore it's not something covered by our office.
And how do you get to the bottom of it?
Whenever it is a prima facie case and it is looks like it's because of one of the protected bases, we do intake that case. There's an intake person there in the office. It goes to mediation first. I do all of the mediations in the office, and I do that because what happens, whoever mediates cannot investigate, so that doesn't taint my pool of investigators. I only have 3, so I have open options as to who I can give the case to if it happens not to settle in mediation. But most of the time, 96% of the time, I'm able to settle it at mediation.
Without going to court, without
giving it to the
legal
investigator, when they agree to mediation. If they agree to mediation, come to the table, 96% of the time,
Wow.
I'm able to get it
And
to
that's
settle.
always the best way to go. You
Yes.
don't want to
Oh,
get
yeah.
too involved with the law.
It's Behind the Law, Bud 941-321-282-1055. Justin Clark, Mick Dolan, the beautiful Brianna eating donuts behind the scenes, cookies, actually.
She's behind the donut.
He's behind the donut today. We're talking to our good friend. She's with the City of Orlando, Gwendolyn Wiggins. We're talking to you today on Human Rights Day, right? Human Rights Day, and it's Human Rights Week,
Correct.
right? I mean, this is a pretty important day, a
I'd
pretty
say so.
special week. So when someone, Miss Wiggins, does come to you, and they've been terminated from the City of Orlando,
Well,
I mean,
From
go ahead.
anywhere.
So you're not just. It's not just city employees. This is for everyone.
So
Correct.
you
Okay.
fire
You could
you
fire
fire
some,
an
you could
attorney?
fire you could fire Brianna, and she could come to our office and say it was due to her.
I got you.
And we would, yeah.
Do you guys want to test this out?
That's protected.
Brianna, we're gonna have me and you meeting tomorrow, 2 p.m.
And we would take her case.
Okay.
But being that you're over here in Winter Park, we would take it, but we would send it to the EEOC Miami office for investigation because it's not in the city limits. So we only keep the ones for investigations that occur in the city limits. But we would take them statewide. We would even take someone's on vacation here and say, I'm just now having time to come to file this complaint against my boss while I'm in Florida on vacation. We'll take it and we'll
Really?
send it to EEOC in Miami, and they'll get it to the right EEOC office.
So
So no other city's got this, really.
The closest city that has a FIBA office is Tampa, and then there's one in Clearwater and Jacksonville.
I think I was a little bit confused, and I want to make sure we're very clear about this. So you are an employee of the City of Orlando,
Correct.
yet you're not just investigating termination of city employees. You're talking about investigating termination of employees throughout the city.
Exactly. We would only investigate a city. Well, first of all, let's put it this way: if a city employee, and that has happened, a city employee has the right to come in there because it's their civil right as well to file a Title VII complaint. But we, being city employees, would not investigate that case. We would send it to Miami EEOC, and the federal EEOC office would investigate that case of a city employee. Yes.
Wow, got it. Okay, now I'm understanding. So let's say that I'm any employee. I'm working for Joe Smith Painting down on South Street, and I'm totally making this up. Okay, there's no Joe Smith Painting on South Street, but in the city of Orlando, and I am in a protected class. Let's say that I'm I'm in a protected class. And I got terminated, and I believed it was because of my race or my orientation or whatever. I could come directly to you to
Correct.
log my complaint.
Correct.
Oh, now did you understand this, Mick?
Yeah, well, now I do.
Okay, I did not quite understand it this way. Now, all right,
Do
now,
they have a category for knuckleheads?
yes.
Unfortunately,
Because that
no, we
should
don't.
be a protected category. I would.
We do not.
That would take care of me anyway.
Unless it's a disability.
Okay. Well, then that. Yeah.
So how does this happen? How does it, as a city, do we get together and say, well, I realize that you could file a complaint probably with the state or with the EEOC or whatever. We're actually going to localize this, and we're going to deal with these issues, or at least provide a forum to deal with these issues of discrimination within our city borders. How does that happen?
Well, it's beneficial to the federal government because they can't be in all places at once. And that's why early 80s, they decided to create the FIPAs and the FAPs because they needed some assistance. They needed some partnerships. So this helps with their backlog. When someone comes into our office who's familiar with the difference of having it sent to Miami or to our office, and when we say, oh, I'm sorry, your employer's out of the city limits, so we have to send it to EEOC, they're like, oh, no, because being that we have less cases than EEOC, of course, because they have hundreds and hundreds, of cases because they investigate no matter where it is in the state. They could be up to 2 years by the time their case gets investigated and, gets resolved. Whereas in our office, it's going to be no more than a year. And most of the time, realistically, we're talking between 6 to 9 months. But at the most, a year if it's something complicated or we're having a hard time getting a respondent or someone to respond.
So it takes that long.
Yes,
That
because
seems like a long time.
because they thoroughly investigate. You have to get a position statement from the respondent. Then once they look at the position statement, then they have to go through it and follow up with additional things they may need. They may need to go do an on-site, of the employer, and then we do housing as well. So with housing, pretty much, most of the time, you really have to go do a on-site with housing.
Help me understand just quickly the FIPA versus FAP thing. What are these organizations?
The FIPA, that's what we're designated by EEOC to do the employment, Fair Employment Practice Agency.
The federal government.
Correct. And the FAP is what we're designated by HUD to to investigate housing complaints on their behalf. Now, there's the state of Florida has a FIPA and a FAP as well. So for instance, like with housing cases that occur in Orlando that don't happen in the city limits, they actually go to the state of Florida's FIPA and FAP, which is located in Tallahassee.
The city of Orlando has a human relations office, not to be confused with regular HR, so to speak, like, the place you go to get your health insurance. We have an actual human relations office that protects our citizens and our employees from discrimination. I had no earthly idea about this. I really didn't. We have plenty more to learn if you feel like you've been discriminated against, or maybe you're even an employer and you want to make sure you're not discriminating against your employees. You're going to want to stick around a whole nother half hour ahead of Behind the Law on Bud 94.1. What are we missing?
Can we talk about how would you, what would a successful closed case looks like? Because this doesn't look black and white.
It's not.
It definitely does not look black and white. So
It's not.
when you resolve a case, quote unquote, what does
Like some of the resolutions look like, yeah. And then, too, we make sure we want to talk about our office won the bid to have the International Association of Official Human Rights Agencies 4-day conference here where we'll be hosting it next August. I also have a seat on that board, and it's the first time the head of our office has had a seat since our first original human relations official who started back in 72, and he retired around about 98, 99. So we haven't had a seat on that board since he retired. Yeah.
All right. You ready?
Yep.
I don't think I've actually said your exact title.
I'm according to the ordinance, I'm the human relations official.
Okay.
Yeah.
Officially.
Officially. Yes.
All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
Welcome back to the show. Another half hour of Behind the Law on our favorite radio station, Bud 94.1. Don't forget to watch the TV show this Sunday, and every Sunday it's Behind the Law on TV. 10 a.m. TV 27. Also, look, download the Bud 94.1 app. You can listen to us at 8 p.m. every single weeknight. Watch us as we do the show on social media at 4 o'clock every single afternoon. Follow at Behind the Law Radio. You can ask us questions right there. The beautiful Brianna, who is here behind the scenes, will answer them, or she'll write them on a little whiteboard, and we'll address them as we talk to you live. I'm joined today by my good friend and Orlando radio legend, Mick Dolan. Hello, Mick. How are you?
I'm good. Ho.
We are missing Allie Mack today. She'll be back tomorrow. She's running a fever. You know, she was going to come in, but I was like, look, we don't all want to get sick, too. You know what I mean? But she's really never missed a show, has she? I mean, she's normally here. Yeah. Can you remember her missing many radio programs?
No.
She's pretty good. She's pretty much always here. So we'll give you the day off. Certainly hope you feel better. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can call us right here, 321-282-1055. Coming to you on a very, very special day, Human Rights Day, and it's Human Rights Week. So what better guest than from the city of Orlando, the human relations official from the city of Orlando, Gwendolyn Wiggins. Gwendolyn, how are you? Thanks for being here today. A lot of special information, and quite honestly, the first half hour, I wasn't exactly. That's why we do this show. We want to inform the public about what you guys really do over there, and I was confused myself. I mean, so what you do at the? I don't think people know this. I really don't think most people realize that we have a real, almost police organization for discrimination within the city of Orlando.
Yes.
So as opposed to you having to go hire a lawyer or having to go file a complaint with the EEOC, if someone feels they were wrongfully terminated from their employment or wrongfully not
treated at work,
not given an apartment, right?
Correct.
Same
for
type of thing.
Discriminatory reasons, exactly.
They can come to you within the city of Orlando and actually officially file that complaint.
Correct, and it's the same as filing it with EEOC or HUD. It's no different. It's dual filed, actually.
Oh,
You're protected under the local laws and under the federal laws.
So
is there more of that going on now? Discrimination.
Yeah. It never stopped, and it's just that versus seeing you don't see a whole lot of overt. It's just more subtle, which causes you to really have to expend a lot of time on investigations because it's not too many.
Clear cut. It's not
correct. It's not too many where people
obvious.
are just going to come right on and say, well, I'm not giving you this apartment because I don't rent to people of your race.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're going to find some other pretextual reason, so we would have to really, do our due diligence to prove that was pretextual.
Are there any differences when it comes to discrimination based on it being an employer versus a property owner? Or is it the same exact thing?
Well, pretty much, when you're making a prima facie case, you're still going to use the same elements. Other than, of course, with housing, it's going to be did they fail to rent you the house versus with employment, did they fail to hire you or promote you? But it's basically you're looking at the same thing, a failure to do something.
Some of these thoughts and feelings, I imagine, for people who are discriminating against others, whether it's because I'm firing you or because I'm not renting this apartment to you, some of it's sort of inside. They're not out there writing on Facebook that, oh, we hate this class or that class. So it's sort of in their head. I mean, how do you as the investigator or the decider at times, how do you really determine that there was discrimination going on?
Okay. I'll give you a hypothetical example because it would be easy for a housing provider to say, let's say someone came in and they said, oh, I wanted to rent the apartments that were an apartment with me and my 2 children, and it was right up front when you first came into the apartment. When I went there at lunchtime without my children, they told me that these apartments were available. I came back later and they told me that they were not. And so the person say they come in and they file a discrimination based on familial status. And then we file the charge and we serve it on them, and then their response says, well, we have lots of families with children. We're not just going to look at the statistics and look at the rental roll or their rental agreements to show that they have children, because it may be that they do have lots of children, but they put them all in the back. That's still discriminatory. just because you rent to someone with children, that doesn't
I mean,
absolve
they
you.
gave them an apartment in the back.
Correct, because so that's still discrimination. It's not enough that you do rent to people with children. You have to rent to them where they want to rent.
Really?
Yes.
Well, what if the playground was back in the back?
Even that would have
like
to be that. It's funny because I just did a presentation, a training for a housing provider, because we do trainings, whether you've ever been in trouble or not. Someone can call our office and say,
Just
hey,
to be
come
sure.
to training.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just did one, and that was one of the exact questions that one of the leasing agents said, well, what if, the playground? I said, well, if they tell you I would like an apartment near the playground because of my kids, that's fine. But you cannot say, hey, we have some great apartments in the back near the playground, because then that's going to look like you're steering. Steering is illegal. That's discrimination.
Even if you're just suggesting that you might want to have an apartment over here by the playground or the pool, or
I would
or
stay
whatever.
away from that suggestion, because the suggestion could be,
Taken the wrong way,
Yeah, it could
obviously.
be just merely really just a suggestion, like, hey, I see you have kids and you might want to,
Be up front.
be near the playground, but then that person, may take it the wrong way. That you're trying to put everybody back with kids back there, and if they filed a complaint, saying that, and then we went and looked, and statistically, there's no kids up front. Everybody, all of them are near the playground, and it's proven that you steer all families back there,
Then you
you'll
got
be
a
in
problem.
trouble.
Yeah.
So what if someone has 7 kids and I'm like, oh, it's only a 3-bedroom unit. There's no way I'm renting to someone with 7 children.
Okay, then you are that's different. Especially that problem happens a lot, especially when it's like Section 8 or housing that has another set of laws that they must follow as well, like the 2 heartbeats to the bedroom.
What's that?
2 people to a bedroom.
Okay.
2 heartbeats to it.
Yeah, so then you start running into that that issue, because of course 7 people in a bedroom, you would have the right to say, hey, our rule is 7 people, this number of bedrooms, yeah.
But I cannot
because that's not familiar status. That's not saying you're not going to rent to them. You're just saying
Right.
give them a 2-bedroom apartment.
But I can't just blanket statement say I'm not renting to anyone's kids.
No.
Okay. Did you know that, McDolan?
Didn't know that.
I mean, I don't think people know this, Gwendolyn. I mean, I really, really don't think that people know this. So
There are a few exemptions, like the Miss Murphy law, with
What's that?
With the fourplex, where she's living in one and renting out the other 3, that's a small thing like that where she's staying. So that's an exemption. There's exemptions of senior living, but of course they have already got that. They've gotten the permissions and things to create those type communities.
And that's a great question. So the villages, for instance, McDolan, the villages, like you can barely even go in there if you're under 55, but certainly you can only spend like a certain night, but that's okay.
Because they've been certified. They were set up that way,
Yeah.
like a regular apartment complex has not been designated and following all the rules to be able to be a senior living apartment complex. They could not just decide, well, you're not going to rent to anyone with kids. They
Right.
can't do that.
I got you. So when you have seen some of these cases come through the pipeline and you've actually gone to mediation and settled them, I'm not talking about any specific case, but what's like kind of a range of settlement amounts that you would see?
Well, when we're talking about settlements, it's not all about the money.
What?
No.
I thought everything was about money.
No, because with HUD and EEOC,
justice.
correct,
Okay.
correct,
Justice.
and that's the way with HUD and EEOC and our office as well. But they want to see when we settle these cases that there's some public interest. Because if it's just about, making that person whole because maybe you discriminated against them, so they had to go get an apartment that was $200 more per month. Okay, so you can say, they've been doing this for a year, so $200 times 12 months. Okay, but is that going to stop them from doing it to someone else? So we have to get some public interest, like you have to do. Part of that public interest could be that you have to get training, something that's going to dissuade you from doing it again.
So
the idea is to fix the problem.
Yeah.
You're correct.
So when you see the housing issues pop up, are you finding it more just like an individual unit owner who might own 1 or 2 rental properties, or is it more bigger institutional type landlords that you see?
Well, it's usually like the apartment complexes, and to be honest, here in our area, we see a lot of disability with emotional support animals, because that's where the gray area is, and that's where a lot of housing providers are confused. They're confused about the difference between an emotional support animal and a service animal and what you can require, and it's a difference.
What is the
Yeah,
difference?
please let us know. We don't know. We just don't know.
Well, with the emotional support animal, they do not have to be certified, trained, because how do you train a dog just to make you feel good? It's just because they make you feel good because they're happy to see you.
Well, you can't do that to a cat, obviously. The cat will not make you feel good unless he wants to.
Exactly.
Okay.
But with a service animal, they're providing a service. That's the key. Either you're blind, so it's a seeing eye dog.
Right.
Either you have epilepsy or something, so they're there to alert you that you're getting ready to have an attack. So there's certification that they would have where they went through this extensive training to be able to alert you. And so when someone says it's a service dog, you're allowed to request to see that certification and proof of it. Versus emotional support animal,
There is no.
there is no certification. They
So
don't
that
have
could
to
be
be
any
certified.
animal, right?
Pretty much.
Because I've heard about planes. So what was that plane?
I think it was a peacock or something. I think they were
Yeah,
trying to get on
or
the
maybe a lizard
Or
of some kind. It's like, what? No.
Well, it brings the question too. If I am a landlord and in my contract it says no animals, no pets allowed, but someone's trying to rent and they have an emotional support animal or a service animal, am I required by law to rent to them? And I
Yes.
think we're going to answer that question right on the other side of this break. More right ahead with Gwendolyn Wiggins of the City of Orlando on Human Rights Day on Behind the Law.
Yeah.
So you got to get used to Justin. He's asking a question right before the end of each segment.
Yeah.
And you don't want to answer that until next time. But that's all right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
I'm
they can
finding out a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
a lot of people
I-
they don't realize that. They really don't.
I was in a hotel once, and a lady had her emotional
Support?
support miniature horse in the pool with her.
Oh,
And
no.
apparently, according to the hotel rules, and I'm not going to name the chain,
Oh, please.
they said that you can bring your service animal wherever you go. And this was a couple years ago, and I heard that it's changed, that they have to stay outside the pool, which I thought was great because I was offended. The pool,
Correct.
When I first got in, I got out. I was
You-
like, I'm
you
not
know-
Yeah, correct. They
messing
they
around with this horse
they can bring them there,
in the pool.
but not in the pool.
Horses in the pool.
Yeah, but they can bring them there to make
That
them
is
feel
so
better.
bizarre.
I have
People.
parades. I know what they do.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Welcome back to the show. One final segment ahead of Behind the Law on Human Rights Day, Human Rights Week. Joined today by Gwendolyn Wiggins. She's with the City of Orlando. She is with the Orlando Human Relations Office. It's a fair employment practice agency within the City of Orlando. You know, you don't have to make your complaints for discrimination through the federal government because this is sort of a federal agency, but it's done within the city, but not just for employment. This is also for fair housing assistance as well. If you felt discriminated against when you went to release an apartment or a house and they said no, and you think it wasn't just because of bad credit, you think that there was some discrimination going on, this is the person you need to talk to. Welcome to the show.
Thank
So
you.
the question before the break, which I think was a great one, which I certainly had no idea, but your office regulates, in a way, not just employment, but housing. And now we've all heard of these issues where you get lizards, or service animals or whatever on airplanes, right? Or zebras or whatever
Yeah.
people are doing now to make themselves feel better.
The snake makes me feel better.
We all know that we've all rented houses, we've all rented apartments in the past, and the landlord is like, no pets. But now we've got this new thing, really two new things. It's the service animal or the emotional support animal, right?
So those would count.
Those
They could have
those
those.
are not pets, and that's when I do my presentations and trainings. I tell the housing provider the best way to stay out of trouble, to keep it straight in your mind, do not call them pets.
Animals.
They are emotional support animals or service animals, and you cannot charge a pet fee because that's discriminatory. So, we've had that happen before too, where someone came in. It wasn't that they said they could not have their animal; they told them they had to pay the pet fee. So we would still find cause,
Huh.
even though they allowed them to have the animal, because they would have broken the Civil Rights Act by Title VIII by telling them they had to pay the pet fee.
Could they, could you actually have it to where you didn't have any animals because you specified no service animals, no?
No, that's because it's a reasonable accommodation, and that's what a reasonable accommodation is. You're allowing that person to do something that otherwise someone else would not be able to do. So that's why it's a reasonable accommodation.
I used to be a landlord. I'm glad
You're done now, huh?
Boy.
But there is a
I've
difference,
had a
I think, in
problem.
emotional support versus service animal, but they're both protected classes.
They're both protected with the disabled. Their disability requires that they have an emotional support animal or a service animal.
Is there a
You must-
line? I mean, can it be a zebra? I mean, can it be anything
Oh,
they
well,
want?
Anything that fits in
no.
there.
It has to be a reasonable accommodation. That's the key.
There's the final.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's the reasonable accommodation. And then two people, also the landlords to say, well, especially with emotional support animals, because a service animal, they've been trained, and a part of that expensive long training is also working on aggression, so they're going to be very docile. But their concerns is emotional support animal. They don't have to have this training. What if it's aggressive? So our thing to them is you treat them the same way as a pet that someone says this person's pet is being aggressive and lunging. So whatever your rules are, how you deal with that's how you would deal with the person with the emotional support animal or the service animal. But like I said, normally with a service animal, you're not going to have aggression. You still, because you can't have them making you have liability because you're going to bite somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
So you would handle it the same
Here's
way.
what I would do is, if I was a landlord now, is I just up the deposit on the pet. Can you do that?
Nope, it's the same thing as the pet fee.
come on,
I'm glad
man.
you said that. I'm glad you said that.
yeah, I'll rent it to you, but it's a $100,000 deposit,
because you know what? That's different.
non-refundable.
That's different terms and conditions, which is illegal. To do different terms and conditions based upon
So
being
the
in a
koala
protected
bear
class.
messes up the.
Okay, and then too, you said they mess up something. So that goes to say, just because you cannot, charge them a pet deposit or charge them higher rent, but it still works no different than if someone ruined your stove or something.
So the regular deposit.
You can still take out of the regular deposit for fixing, or sometimes people's damage is above and beyond the deposit, and people take them to court and say, so it would be the same thing. You're not exempt from having to pay for damages that your emotional support animal or service animal
It's
does.
just the category that it falls into.
It's just that you can't say no and you can't charge.
Venomous
things.
snake makes me feel better.
Service bear.
Yeah.
What? No, if it's a venomous snake, do I have to rent to that person?
That's not.
Well, probably more than likely, because it's not that it's in that person's apartment.
It's not out in public.
It's not out in public.
Theoretically, not
yeah.
doing any harm to anybody else.
Exactly. And something else too, I don't want to miss. We also enforce the same law, public accommodations, meaning hotels, restaurants. If someone went to a hotel or restaurant within the city limits and they said we don't rent to someone of your in your protected class that you're in, you would file that complaint at our office too.
How about Airbnb?
Oh.
There we
Good
go.
Now,
There's another job for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's in the city limits, and it's going to depend on how many properties that a person has. Remember I said how we have the Miss Murphy with the exemptions. There are some exemptions. So we have to look at those type things. But even if they're not in the city limits, the state of Florida does have a public accommodations part to their Civil Rights Act. So no matter where in Florida, if you had that problem, you could file it with the FEPA and the FAP up at the state.
All right, let's reset this a little bit. I want to make sure that no one is getting confused here. My name is Justin Clark. Orlando radio legend Mick Dolan joins me, as he does every single day on Behind the Law, Bud 94.1. The beautiful Brianna is behind the scenes answering your questions on social media, which you can follow at Behind the Law Radio. We're joining you today on a very special day. It's Human Rights Day. A part of Human Rights Week, we're going to be talking about human rights all week right here on Behind the Law. Nice enough to kick everything off today with our good friend. She is the Human Relations Officer for the city of Orlando, Gwendolyn Wiggins. So let's go back to this, because really I even thought we were just talking about employment. I didn't even know housing assistance was part of this, but it does make sense. I get it. And I'm incredibly fascinated to learn that if you're renting apartments or you're a landlord in any way, and someone says that they have a service animal, or even maybe pushing it a little further, an emotional support animal, that is discrimination if you refuse to rent that apartment to them. This is fascinating to me. I really did not know that, but I think there are some certainly other protected categories that are a little bit more well-known than the service animal thing. Go through those categories one more time for me.
It's sex, race, color, national origin, and religion, and I'm clumping them all together, housing and EEOC. And then, as I said earlier, did I skip disability, national origin? Well, and then with the city, we also have sexual orientation and gender expression and gender identity as extra specific categories that's specifically listed in our ordinance. But those categories are also taken under the federal, under sex, under, stereotyping.
Let's say that I have someone applying for a job and I can't help but notice that she's 6 months pregnant and I know she's going to take off 2 months because she's having a baby. Is that discrimination?
Yes, that's covered under sex.
Okay, so, but, I mean, if I had a choice between a pregnant woman that was going to have some time off and cost me money, and I would have to look at that as the same as somebody who...
Exactly, because if she came in, and especially if she was the most qualified, and especially the other person could barely type 2 words.
Oh, well, okay. No, I know. I get that.
I would say that would
So
be an easy case for us to
let's say the talents were similar.
Okay.
And the only problem was
what would be
going to be off for a while.
Okay, now that would be kind of hard from an investigatory standpoint. Whenever they're both just as qualified, because you're probably not going to tell the other person, well, you were just as qualified as the other person, but what tilted it was that you were pregnant. So you're probably not going to tell them that.
If I were you, I'd probably keep McDolan on your radar a little bit based on what he's saying
Or
here.
off my radar, off your radar would be better.
So, Gwen, I mean, I can send you all his info, his address and everything if you just want to keep an eye on him in case he starts a new business, you know what I mean?
I'll just sit over in the corner, thank you, with my dunce hat.
Unbelievable. So tell me about the process. Let's say that I am in the city of Orlando. I was recently terminated from my job, and I do think that there was discrimination going on. How do I reach out to you? And then once I do that, what is the process going forward?
Well, you would call our office, our main number.
What's that number?
It's 407-246-2122, and your complaint would be vetted by whoever answered the phone. And if a prima facie case arises from the conversation, you'll be given an intake appointment. And in that intake appointment, a charge will be drafted.
Gotcha. Let's say that I'm an employer or I'm a landlord, and I'm looking for information to make sure I don't violate these discrimination laws. Do you do training, or can I reach out to you guys and you help me understand what I should and shouldn't be doing?
Yes, we're glad to do that. We love to be proactive. We like to go under happy circumstances, not always showing up when someone's in trouble. Again, they can reach out to us at 407-246-2122 or email us at humanrelations@cityoforlando.net, and we'll be happy to do that.
So once I do file a complaint, again, against my employer, against the landlord, whatever, how long before the case is normally resolved? What kind of time frame are we looking at?
Well, if the employer accepts the invitation to mediate, the mediation usually is at least scheduled within 30 days from the date that you came in. And so therefore it's usually within 45 days, 45 to 60 days to resolve if they accept the mediation invitation. If they do not accept it, and they don't have to, and it goes to investigation, it could be anywhere between 6 to 12 months, depending on the complexity of the case.
Is there anything binding that happens through the Orlando Human Relations Office, or is this all voluntary?
The mediation is voluntary, but if we investigate and we find we do find cause, nothing's, voluntary anymore, because what happens if they don't come in to do a conciliation once a cause finding has occurred, we send it to EEOC, and EEOC will enforce that cause finding.
Gotcha.
Or sometimes, like I had mentioned earlier, someone will have an attorney who sent them to the office so they can get the process going so that they can file a federal lawsuit. And that's happened this year twice with the housing case. We found cause, and those two people had attorneys already, and those cases are in federal court with their private attorney.
Excellent work today. That is Gwendolyn Wiggins with the City of Orlando Human Relations Office. Thank you for being here today. One more time if I need to reach out. What's the phone number?
407-246-2122.
For the beautiful Brianna, for Allie Mack, who's at home with a fever, we're sending our love to you. Orlando radio legend Mick Dolan, I don't know much, but I do know one little thing.
What's that?
I will see you right back here tomorrow night on Bud 94.1.